Bon, alors on va repartir. Bienvenue à toutes et à tous. Nous allons reprendre dans ce premier temps fort d'événements de clôture de la chaire d'excellence Normandie qui vise vraiment à donner à voir aujourd'hui que le fait que cette recherche est une recherche d'excellence sur des sujets innovants et novateurs, sujets innovants et novateurs que nous avons portés collectivement au plus haut niveau. Nous allons à présent parler de la dynamique de transformation substantielle du vivant et ouvrir la question et la ligne, donc vous pouvez le voir à l'écran, bioéthique et biodroit, qui est la ligne numéro 7. Il faut savoir que le point de départ de cette ligne bioéthique, bien évidemment dans la continuité de mes travaux de thèse sur le droit des générations futures, qui vise à la fois la protection de l'intégrité de l'écosystème Terre et d'autre part la protection de l'intégrité de l'espèce humaine, je m'étais déjà posé la question du clonage humain, des modifications génétiques de l'espèce humaine. Et à l'occasion du forum de haut niveau sur les objectifs du développement durable qui s'est tenu à l'ONU en 2016, quelle n'a pas été ma surprise de voir que dans cette fameuse grande salle des Nations Unies, à savoir l'Assemblée générale, qui avait été louée un dimanche, sur scène était Ray Kurzweil, c'est-à-dire le cofondateur de l'Université de la Singularité, et un défilé de personnes technophiles qui se targuaient d'être les nouveaux entrepreneurs de demain et qu'un alignement d'étoiles se faisait pour qu'ils se fassent beaucoup d'argent, précisément parce qu'ils avaient la possibilité en conscience de modifier et d'augmenter l'espèce humaine. Et donc, bien souvent, les collègues de droit de l'environnement travaillent en silo aussi et n'intègrent pas cette question de bioéthique qui fait partie intégrante de notre message de paix avec la Terre. Cet après-midi, on va voir justement ce besoin de transformation substantielle de protection du vivant et aussi, après, Aloïs Ken prendra la parole sur le processus de reconnaissance des droits des animaux. Lorsque la chaire d'excellence Normandie pour la paix a été ouverte, j'ai donc pris soin de créer cette ligne bioéthique biodroit que j'ai confiée également en codirection à Amandine CAYOL, maître de conférence en droit privé à l'université de Caen Normandie, à qui je vais céder la parole et à qui je vais donner l'honneur de beaucoup animer cette session, mais également à Bénédicte BÉVIERE Boyer, maître de conférence à Paris 8, et qui se sont toutes deux beaucoup investies. Cette ligne de recherche bioéthique a donné lieu à pas moins de 5 ouvrages. On va tous les présenter aujourd'hui. Certains sont déjà imprimés, d'autres sont des rapports publiés, mis en lumière notamment sur la chaîne parlementaire et sur France Culture. Donc aujourd'hui, nous allons vous présenter cette question et cette ligne bioéthique du vivant. Et sans plus tarder, je donne la parole à Amandine CAYOL, avec qui nous avons co-rédigé un cycle de conférences qu'elle va prendre soin de vous présenter, intitulé « Regards croisés sur les transhumanismes ». Amandine, c'est à toi. Bienvenue.
Merci, Émilie. Donc effectivement, comme vous l'a indiqué Émilie, elle a eu l'intuition qu'il était important pour les juristes de s'intéresser à la question du transhumanisme. Alors question qui pouvait paraître encore, il y a assez peu de temps, relever plutôt de la science-fiction, voilà, un sujet qui ne paraissait pas vraiment très sérieux pour des universitaires. Alors sujet qui était quand même déjà étudié par certaines autres spécialités des sciences humaines et sociales, notamment en philosophie ou sociologie. Il y a déjà des travaux, des thèses qui étaient consacrés, mais il est vrai qu'en droit, la question semblait vraiment novatrice, voire même un peu excentrique. Voilà. Nous avons décidé de nous intéresser à ce sujet et effectivement, la première étape a été d'organiser ensemble 2 cycles de conférences pluridisciplinaires et internationales au sein de l'AMRSH de Caen, donc dès l'année universitaire 2018-2019, puis ensuite au cours de l'année 2019-2020. Donc à chaque fois, nous avons organisé 5 conférences dans ce cadre, donc tournant autour du transhumanisme, afin de chercher à mieux comprendre quelles sont les idées transhumanistes et en se demandant également donc quelle est la perception des différentes disciplines justement de sciences humaines et sociales, donc éventuellement les juristes, mais aussi les sociologues, les anthropologues, les philosophes, voire même également des représentants de différents courants religieux. Que pensent les religions du transhumanisme? Et puis également des fondateurs de think tanks sur ces sujets. Donc la première année, nous avons d'abord voulu donner la parole aux militants transhumanistes eux-mêmes, puisqu'il nous a semblé important de leur donner directement la possibilité de s'exprimer, afin de ne pas courir le risque de transformer, de biaiser leurs propos et leurs pensées. Et donc nous avons bien entendu immédiatement contacté l'association française transhumaniste, Technoprog, et Didier Kernel, qui en est le vice-président, nous a fait l'honneur de commencer ce premier cycle de conférences en 2018, où il nous a présenté les différents visages du transhumanisme et insisté bien sûr sur le longétivisme, donc la lutte contre le vieillissement afin d'atteindre cette quête de l'immortalité qui est chère aux transhumanistes, et particulièrement à Didier Kernel. Donc nous avons pu échanger avec le public qui était présent directement donc avec ce militant. Nous avons ensuite continué cette première année avec donc différentes approches. D'abord sociologique avec Marwan Jawa, qui est doctorant à l'université de Caen, donc en sociologie sur ces questions de transhumanisme. Puis Nathalie Nevéjean, qui est une collègue, maître de conférence HDR en droit privé à l'université d'Artois et qui dirige une chaire sur l'intelligence artificielle et qui a précédemment rédigé un très bel ouvrage sur la roboéthique. Et donc c'est à ce titre qu'elle était intervenue sur justement l'IA et droit au pluriel dans le cadre donc de ce cycle de conférences. Puis Daniela Serki, anthropologue à l'Université de Lausanne, était intervenue sur la médecine améliorative.
Then Daniela Serki started her work on ameliorative medicine, so she was able to go into laboratories where experiences related to transhumanism were conducted, with all of this experience on the switch between the two, and the conclusion was that without knowing that, we are all transhumanists in reality. And then this year was closed by Marie-Angèle Lermite, and she is the director of studies at EHESS, and she conducted some pioneering work on transhumanism. And for the first time, she launched the first idea of reflection on the main notions of law with regards to transhumanism. So this was the first year of the cycle of conferences that met with a huge success, and we decided to continue this experience the following year with Émilie, open up new possibilities on this subject. So all of these conferences are on the website of Le Forge Numérique, both in audio version and digital version. So yes, everything is online. And then we started with philosophy, because it was not present the first year, with Jean-Michel Beignet first and Dominique Bourg, who spoke on this topic, so the environmental aspect for Dominique Bourg. And then we actually thought about the link with the religion. So we had a doctor who actually spoke about his work on transhumanism, and two founders or co-founders of think tanks, so Ido Giri, who is the co-founder of the H+ think tank, and David Truchot, who is the founder of the academic and citizen. And then, as Émilie said, these different conferences gave rise to a book published with the Normandy Chair for Peace line of publishing. So we really wanted to insist on the different trends of transhumanism, the different thoughts about transhumanism. So different viewpoints that are put together. So if we look now, this is the book published by Peter Lang, Cross Perspectives on Transhumanism. And then we wanted to go deeper into our research, and we submitted a spontaneous research project on the topic of transhumanisms in plural and laws in plural. So this was a research project for which we received a funding in 2021, so 30 months in total, 24 months initially, but it was extended because of the COVID pandemic. And so in that framework, we had a team, a cross-disciplinary team, so many different jurists and legal experts, different legal fields. So we have Christophe Allôme, the professor in private law in Caen, who was there in the project because of his skills in terms of intellectual property. Jean-René Binet, who was present for the bioethical aspects, specialist in terms of legal and health law, Marie-Angèle Lermite, Nathalie Région, Nathalie Rota for the comparative law aspects. So this was for the legal experts, plus Emily and myself. And then we had sociologists, so Marouad Jalouad and Michel Daubré, as well as Frédéric Lemarchand, who are professors in sociology in Caen. And then for sociology and philosophy, we had Catherine Laher and Gabriel Doct, who was a young PhD graduate who played an essential role in this project. We want to highlight his role and to thank him because Gabriel, in his thesis, led a field study with activists, and it is thanks to him that we were able to go and meet these transhumanism activists within the EU territory. This mission, this research mission for law and justice is part of the Institute for Law and Justice, and the Institute took over for this mission on justice and law. So then, during these years, we conducted a research that aimed at studying the upheavals, the different changes in the anthropological foundations that are the basis of our legal systems, related to the ideas and achievements of transhumanism. So the first year we looked more at the transhumanist ideas. So the same step again, we wanted to contact these transhumanist activists. So we met again with members of the French Transhumanist Association, Didier Kernel, and other activists from this association. And we also went to the UK and to Spain in order to compare the positions of these activists that are not totally identical depending on the countries. And this actually supported our idea initially that there are several aspects of transhumanism, several faces to transhumanism within activists with a more liberal current, for example, in the United States, which we find also in Spain with more extreme positions, and a more moderate current, more social, more left-wing current with the French Transhumanist Association Technoprog, which is looking more at questions of equality and access to the evolutions of all society. So we really thought about the different forms of transhumanism, and we distinguished between the biologic transhumanism, so the genome modification, and on the other hand, the technological transhumanism with the merging between man and machine, the human and machine interface, so human beings that are made more robotic, and the implications about what it means to be a human being, and the legal rules that derive from it. So this was the first step. Then in relation to the transhumanist ideas, so following our cycle of conferences, we wanted to continue to question specialists on that topic, and we wanted to extend this to other philosophers, other religions as well, because we had first heard it from the Catholic religion, so we extended it to other religions, other experts who fed our reflection with different interviews that were conducted. So these were the ideas, and then we actually looked at the achievements, because our idea right from the start was that these transhumanist ideas are not science fiction, that in our societies there are already some achievements that could be connected to transhumanism. So we have conducted some studies, quite a lot of studies, with different doctors and medical professionals in order to discuss with them about the evolution of their practices and to see whether there was not a kind of a switch that leads us towards ameliorative medicine, not just to cure people who are ill, but also to heal patients who are already in a normal state, in order to improve their health, in order to improve their psychic, emotional, psychological, etc. capabilities. So we noticed that there was already such a switch. And this was visible also in the legal documents, little by little, when we have some legal reforms, and there is this the fact that the fact that for example, the aided procreation, and in 2021, the medically assisted procreation goes beyond the limits, the physical limits. So for the moment, this is not the case, but for the moment, a heterosexual couple without any problems could also avail of these schemes of the assisted medical reproduction. So the self-conservation of gametes that was only, authorized for some particular, in some particular situations for a person affected by cancer that could be affected by problems of sterility, for example. Now, this self-conservation of gametes, this is present, this is now possible. There are some age conditions. For example, if I decide that I want to put my career first before I start to have children, I can conserve, I can maintain, I can freeze my gametes so that I can use them again, and so that they can be more efficient than when I grow older and my gametes are older. So this is the willingness to go beyond the biological limits, the time-bound limits, and we want to go beyond these limits, which is really the idea that is shared by transhumanists proponents. So this research project gave rise to a report which is online called Transhumanism and Law, which is online on the site of the IERDG. So you will find a summary, a little interview we conducted with Emily, and following these works, we also then organized within the JIP IRDG project, a seminar on the main notions of law, the 5 notions of law that we selected, so person, property, fundamental rights, as well as sovereignty, with a collective working group each time. So these seminars gave way to a synthesis which is present in this report, but we were not able to go all the way to in our work. And for some fields, we just started a reflection. We didn't have an overall summary or synthesis. So we wanted to go further, and we wanted to continue with this work that did not seem to be complete, and we wanted to prepare a collective work with the members of the GPE who wanted to continue with this adventure in order to reinforce and boost some points which were not deepened enough. Magali Bouteille-Brigand joined us. Laura Pinatel also joined us with regards to fundamental rights and neural rights. Another colleague on intellectual property, and Roma Zagnelli on questions of money. So we actually contributed to this book, this publication, that will this work, which will soon be published in the publishing line of the Normandy Chair for Peace. This will be available to be bought online the end of September, normally.
Un site marchand. C'est ça. Voilà. The main notions of law in the advent of transhumanism plural. So the 21st of September, the date was confirmed by the publisher. And with regards to this project, we then were invited by the IRDG to give a conference in our premises to talk about the results of this project. This was in December, the 2nd of December, 2022. So this was the second point on the research of the IRDG that enabled us to explain our objectives, our methods, and the results of our research work, and be able to discuss this with and this was also recorded, and this is available on the IRDJ website. And we were contacted by different media in order to broadcast, to disseminate the results of this study. And more particularly, we were contacted by France Culture. We intervened with Émilie in the Antoine Caraco's program, the law modified and transformed by transhumanism. We were interviewed on the challenges behind this topic and the results of our research. We were also contacted by the parliamentary channel within in the DBADOC program, where I was able to talk about and to express myself with 2 biology specialists who are making research or doing research on the fight against aging in France. So the principle with DBADOC, it's a small documentary that mentions the possibility of pushing back death
the most extreme possibilities that relate more to science fiction. So cryogenic. Even if now we don't have any scientific solution to awaken the bodies preserved in a cryogenic way, that are preserved in cryogenic storage. But, what happens to the cells? And then there was a debate, a discussion between the presenter and the two biologists and myself in order to take into account the work done by Emily and myself. So we came back to, we were also, we expressed ourselves in different journals, the Expertise Journal and another journal, and the article should be published in September 2023. So we were mentioning and discussing what transhumanism is and how we could support a company or stop or ban some evolutions. What do we need to do? What are the limits that we need to lay? And now Emily is putting online the interview of the expertise review, which is available on the website of the Normandy Chair for Peace. So this is all our work. And these are all the preparatory work that was done within the bioethics line, and the work that was published by the Normandy Chair for Peace. So we continued our work with Emily, and we associated our colleague, Dominique BÉVIERE Boyer, who is a specialist of the questions of bioethics, and with whom we were able to discuss. And we organized four main symposiums on transhumanism, transanimalism, trans-earth, and these symposiums were conducted under the patronage, the sponsorship of the UNESCO Commission, with Christian Bic, who represents actually France within this Committee of Bioethics of the UNESCO, and who supported our work, and who also co-organized other symposiums that dealt with the ecological issues in relation to artificial intelligence. So now I would like to give the floor to Christian Bic. I don't know if he's here right now. So I will present to you this trilogy. The idea is that there is, of course, a link between this trilogy. You know, transhumanism, trans-earth, transanimalism. The idea is that there was a global movement of transformation of the living, and under the influence of the different technological evolutions, with a willingness to go beyond the normal limits, both of human beings and the animal nature with transanimalism, and of course nature as a whole, the earth itself, with trans-earth. So transhumanism, of course, this is the most well-known. So this is part of our previous work. We wanted to focus on the question of ameliorative medicine, which really struck us during our work. So this is something very concrete, not a fantasy. So under the patronage of the French Commission of the UNESCO, we wanted to organize a symposium in May 2021. This was conducted as a webinar. This was also co-organized with our colleague Wei Wang, who is a professor of law at the Chinese faculty. And our objective was to compare the practices both in France and in Asia, and particularly in China. So thanks to our colleague Wei Wang, we had 13 specialists, Chinese legal experts and doctors and medical professionals who participated. So this was a transdisciplinary symposium, of course.
Bien sûr transdisciplinaire de nouveau, puisque ce ne sont pas des questions que les juristes peuvent traiter seuls. Donc nous avions là encore des sociologues, des anthropologues, des philosophes et bien entendu des médecins qui intervenaient. L'objectif étant justement de croiser les regards
with
entre chercheurs de
medical professionals that also talked about the evolution of our practices and the gradual switch of from therapeutic medicine to ameliorative type of medicine. So we had 4 roundtables during this symposium. So first roundtable, in order to make an assessment, so different viewpoints between the legal experts and medical experts.
Oui, ça existe. Comment les juristes s'en emparent? Puis une deuxième table ronde sur la vision sociétale de l'homme augmenté.
I'm sorry, the interpreter cannot hear anything. The Zoom connection is broken.
Avec les regards des sociologues, anthropologues, philosophes.
The role of law in the face of ameliorative medicine, and then, of course, the challenge of the preservation of humanity in relation to the development of ameliorative medicine. So what does the human being, so how far can we go? Can we move towards a transformation of the human beings so that we conserve the integrity of the human nature? So this symposium also also enabled us to then publish, to contribute to a publication which has been published in the Mare Martin publishing house, and this will be published beginning of 2024, January, February 2024. Everything is ready where we need to be to wait for the publishing process to move forward. So the second highlight of this trilogy was transanimalism. So augmented animals between so the idea was to look at this willingness to improve. Oh, actually, I'm going to stop here. We have Christian Bic, who is present here. I would like to give the floor to Christian Bic, who is a representative of the Commission and the UNESCO, who actually participated in this research project and who co-organized this symposium on the environmental challenges related to artificial intelligence. Can you please switch on your mic, please? Christian, you have the floor. Welcome, Christian, who is connecting from Ottawa, who is a strong proponent of the Normandy Chair for Peace and has been encouraging the Normandy Chair for Peace to become a UNESCO Associate Chair. So please switch on your mic. Welcome, Christian. Welcome. Yes, we can see you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here present with you today because this is a work we accomplished with a strong commitment and in a framework that goes along with the direction of the work led by UNESCO and the French Commission. I would like to just give you a few words in order to set the frame and set the context of this work. And I would like to come back to the context, the socio-political and ethical context. So when we have a deep transition with a historical period, of course, it carries out a promise, sometimes exaggerated or uncertain. So why would it be otherwise with post-humanism that also gives us to see that the immersion of new technologies could really change radically world and the nature of humankind. So we would need to get ready for the unveiling of a new world, a true modern apocalypse. And how can we get there when the disorientation that we see, that we suffer from, prevents us from writing a narrative of our future, in other words, than with the post prefix. In the 20th century, in the wake of the different wars, this has shown us our inability to draft some great narratives, but transhumanism and post-humanism, should they not, do they not constitute quite a quasi-ideology, which is quite insidious because it's not like just like an ideological project, but the fruit of the development of sciences and techniques. So is there not the beginning of an encouragement or a strong encouragement to build from this observation a new great narrative that could transform a dystopia into a utopia? And in effect, can we negate the role played by law in the appropriation of questions, the questions of new technologies in our society? And in that respect, the work performed by the Normandy Chair for Peace is very important, because, and it is also a way to negate this fear. You know, the fact that artificial intelligence develops on such a tremendous pace means that we need to apprehend this issue very seriously. This was also the sense of the initiative of the French Commission of the UNESCO and the work done from 2018 on transhumanism and the questions of artificial intelligence. This is a place of convergence between the French academic world and the discourse of the United Nations system, led and charged to bring a reflection on science and technology. The French Commission wants to act with an approach so that the sharing of knowledge and questions can bring to each and every one of us and our institutions the contribution of the French community and of social sciences. You know, raising awareness, raising hypotheses, measuring probabilities, likelihood of some hypothesis, giving some tools for the necessary decisions, and in order to draft and elaborate some social values. This is what we want to work together on for the benefits of future generations. So this is with a great pleasure that I want to congratulate the Normandy Chair for Peace for its contribution, and in particular its organizers, its members, its co-workers who led this debate and discussion. Let's continue with them to continue with our passion, our hope, and the question of ameliorative medicine, and no longer a reparative medicine, deserves all our attention, because this, what we call the ameliorative aspect of medicine, could become tomorrow considered as a restorative type of medicine, given what we do to our bodies. However, the search for performance is only meaningful, has only got a meaning if this performance is an example, a demonstration of the values and the objectives not only shared, but also that are compliant to values and principles. So in that sense, working for the past 3 decades on the on human rights and the application of human rights, I have worked as a member of the Committee of Bioethics. I wanted to look at medicine and its progress with this perspective of the law, and so that the practices, these legal practices, can be developed always with the respect of human rights. And I think that the action led by Chair for Peace is really important. The work that has been done is going in the right direction of what we want to bring. And it is very important to establish links between these practices and the different perspectives, so that there can be always a discussion, a debate, without stopping the development of sciences and medicine, but setting them within the continuity of the respect for human rights from one generation to the next. I would like to thank you. I would like to warmly thank you. Thank every one of us. I'm very happy to be following this closing event from Ottawa. Thank you very much, Christian.
Merci beaucoup, Christian.
We would really like to thank you for your support with Emily. Thank you for your support to all our symposiums that we organized. And of course, there are several elements that strike us, of course, and mainly this was present in many of our works. Daniela mentioned it as well, the fact that we are going from a therapeutic approach to a ameliorative approach, and maybe tomorrow it could be perceived as just a reparation approach. And the other topic that is mentioned, and the UNESCO chair, maybe this is the future of this chair. This could enable us to continue with this work, the work performed by all the different lines of research within the framework of a UNESCO chair. We hope this is possible if Emily has the strength and the courage to continue. So I would like to come back to our trilogy, the second highlight, Transanimalism. So the idea that with technologies we can move forward, we can move beyond the limits, the physical limits of animals, so an enhanced animal or an augmented animal. We go beyond the physical limits of animals, and the difference, compared to transhumanism is that, animals are augmented, not for themselves, but they are augmented in order to satisfy human needs or human desires, because in our Western world we are not in an indigenous community, so there's very human-centered law, and when mankind modifies the animals, it is always with the perspective of the of human beings at the center. So this was also a transdisciplinary symposium, a transdisciplinary research with different sociologists, philosophers, legal experts, with biologists, IT experts, experts in bioethics, who saw how animals are modified, augmented for the benefit of human beings. So we looked at history, sociology, philosophy, and then we looked at the processes. So how, concretely, how do we augment, how do we enhance animals? What do we do? So for example, for farm animals, and then of course more original situations as well. And the third highlight of the symposium, we talked about chimeras. And you know that since the bioethics reform of 2021, it is possible, even in France, in the context of research, it is possible to humanize an animal, to add some human cells to an animal embryo. It is only the other way around which is forbidden. The other situation is forbidden. You cannot make a human embryo more animal. So this symposium will also give way, will also lead us to publish another book. I would like to give the floor to Aloïs Ken, my colleague who intervened in this symposium and who is a specialist of animal laws. And of course, all the videos are in the website. You can see them again. You can look at them again. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, merci Amandine. Donc, je vais quand même
This is my great pleasure to be with you, and also my name is Aloïs Ken, junior member of the Institut Universitaire de France, senior lecturer in private law at the University of Évry, Paris-Saclay. I'm an expert in bioethics law and animal law, and I was the first winner of the award from the Foundation of the Rights of Animal and Ethics in Science. I've also been the founder and director at the University of Saclay, and during my presentation here, I just explained that the transanimalism has the objective to manipulate the animals in order to enhance their capacity cognitive, namely, so the enhanced animal or augmented animal is genetically modified. So the difficulty here is connected to the practices which are implemented, not only with the aim to improve animals, but to answer to the man's or human beings' needs. So this is why it was between the human rights and the rights of the animals. This is exactly the proper difference between transhumanism and transanimalism. Just because if transhumanism is answering the willingness of those changes, transanimalism is able to create new transformations. So we have a key question here. Has mankind the right to modify other species? This is the main question. So I am convinced that the human rights must be foreseen globally, which means that you have a connection with all the human beings. By the way, Jean-Marie Coulon, his magistrate, very much involved in human or animal rights, he said that we have a sort of rivalry between the human rights and the animal rights. So he explains that after a long story, the rights adopted and the future rights are mixed in the ethic thinking. So we have a lot of criticisms which are, connected to those suffering, and just before asking these rights for animals. So this topic is based on the human suffering, which is higher than the animal suffering. The fact that you can feel as a human being something incredible doesn't mean that you need to eliminate or cancel other ways or sufferings. So in that sense, we must understand that animals have these feelings as well, and sufferings are not compared, they're just, of course, depending on the same roots. So we need to have a protective system, which is making selections, manipulations, and the bioethics rights, which is able to answer those needs. What do I mean? The declaration of the UNESCO, adopted on October 2005, is highlighting that human beings make part of biosphere and have a role to play in order to protect themselves and the others living animals. So in that sense, expert in cancer Rex Proctor used it in 1971 in its book Bioethics Reach to the Future. And according to him, bioethics should have, let's say, combined all those dimensions together with ecology, animal lives, and wellness of the planet. So this is not dedicated only to human beings. Bioethics is ethics applied to livings, or ethics connected to life. So in that framework, it is interesting to highlight Le Monde in 2019 just published an article which was entitled Shall We Deal with Bioethics Problems and Forget Animals? So coming back to civil code and specific article connected to bioethics laws without prejudices connected to preservation and treatment of genetics or genetic diseases, no modification can be brought in order to modify people. Well, this article is connected to all these procedures which are forbidden for human beings. Humans are possible for animals. So for rats or also dogs, it is possible, and more recently in Japan or China, for other animals. So the objective here is clear. Researchers want to create these genes, pathogens, in order to have the opportunity to compare more similar, living beings in order to understand this orientation. And this is an ethical problem because it is connected to sensitive animals, which are very similar to us on a phylogenetical pattern, having anyways some difficulties. So it is extremely cruel to create animals which have these rare diseases with the potential aim to improve the understanding of our diseases. So they have proposed to create a specific chapter in the law to highlight the limits in this framework. So is it possible to deal with bioethics and also deal with ethics when you create ill
quand
animals.
on crée des animaux malades
So
à
if
des fins
animals
de recherche.
started to
Alors j'en
integrate
terminerai
the
par là.
right of
Si l'animal a
bioethics with
commencé
this
à
law
intégrer
of
doucement
August
le droit de la
21,
bioéthique par la
it's not
loi
with the
du 2
objective of
août
protection,
2021,
but
ce
the
n'est pas dans
authorization
un
to
objectif de
create
protection, mais par le biais de l'autorisation de création
new
d'embryons
cells
chimériques
created in
obtenus
labs.
par
So
transplantation de
we
cellules
could
humaines
spend
dans des
hours here
embryons
on these
animaux.
topics,
Alors
but
s'il y aurait
anyways, I would
beaucoup à
like
dire à
that
ce
these
sujet
rights connected to
également, en tout cas
bioethics to be
j'appelle
compelled
de
with
mes
all the
vœux que le droit
manipulation
de la
and also
bioéthique se saisisse
anything which
de
is applied to
l'ensemble
animals,
des
taking into
manipulations
consideration the
génétiques et
respect of the
corporelles
animal
appliquées
and
à
its
l'animal
value.
en tenant
Thank you.
compte du respect de l'animal et de sa valeur intrinsèque. Voilà, je vous remercie.
Thank you so much. In fact, Transanimalism meeting just highlighted those, cross researchers, and this is extremely nice. And we should, of course, think about animals first of all. So the third step is to go beyond. So third meeting, Trans Earth. Still, the idea that evolution and techno sciences evolutions allow to go beyond borders, beyond the Earth. And we had all of a series of geoengineering techniques and information. It was June 23, so very recently, international meeting, international conference with 3 meetings, 3 roundtables. So first, we had cross ideas on the Earth, so geoengineering. We had Professor Hamilton. And then what is transformed? Second step, we had Trans Earth with the international law with Professor José Juste Ruiz. And then finally, third time, it was with Anna Madrick. So how to protect the Earth. Now, I would like to give the floor to Emily, just to come back to those meetings and explain a bit more in details. Well, during that meeting, it was so much, a great commitment, because in the international current events, just beyond this event, the United Nations have just made a report where you have an alarm, geoengineering, which is, changing the deal. So we have a current reflection on geoengineering. So we have all the videos here, and here you have a lot of, I said, experts, which are, as Professor Clive Hamilton, who dealt with all these scales, how to modify balances and how to modify the mindsets and big assets as well. So Lily Furswer talked about international environmental law as manager of the program or for the advocacy under that topic. And also we had a great example with Marine de Guglielmo as well on the atmosphere. Now, for international law, we had the great honor to have José Juste Ruiz as the professor of international law. So he intervened in 2016 about these topics, and he, talked about how we can protect the oceans and the seas, and that was really, really, it was of paramount importance. And also political challenges and governance as well, because we have so many changes done without citizens to be informed. So democracy as well, and global changes connected to geoengineering. And we had the privilege also to have other colleagues, namely indigenous people as well, because they are, of course, mobilized on those topics. So sometimes it is altered and changing. So this is why I would like to thank all my colleagues here, because these lines are outside our comfort zone, and it is, beyond the classical law. It's not research on divorce or let's say, financing aspects of fraud, here it's something really, really different. So people were a bit afraid on our topics just because we were dealing with, new topics. So we had to put it at a higher level with international experts, and they all accepted to participate. We had, I said, a lot of experts, and they all accepted to be with us and to go deeper on these topics. So going beyond these comfort zones, they're all experts from, the legal world and so on. So after that cycle of 3 meetings, we also made a 4th conference on the environmental challenges as far as AI is concerned. So we had BÉVIERE Boyer, myself, and also Christian Beek. So that conference was always on the patronage of the UNESCO. So it was a pluridisciplinary, of course, conference, and we had a lot of experts, and we had 5 highlights. First, transhumanism and AI at an environmental point of view. Then the stakes that we have for AI in the future. Third, how to deal with transhumanism through the transcendental rights. And 4, which AI for the future. And finally, 5, which responsibilities and sobriety for the future generations as far as AI is concerned. So this is really key. And this is the end of my presentation. So would you like to add one more word, Emily? Right, so yes, we had several videos about the consequences on the environment. We wanted to highlight the fact that the connected cities or robots and this, hectic pursuit is also connected to the future and the alerts we have. So could be in different places, so indigenous people, but not only. So highlights, AI, and also environmental aspects are very often not so much developed. So we need to really dwell on that. And I think, we can go forward. We're a bit ahead on schedule, so this is nice. We can just have a round of question and answers now. So we can, of course, come back to what we said this morning. So harmony or the contrary. So we have great violence on these topics, and very much often we have a lot of people who are or sponsors who do not really care for the environment. So having an environmental spirit means that you must actually put together all these aspects, and it goes obviously beyond the earth, beyond the environment. It's still the continuity of colonialism. And this is the reason why we need to, change our minds, and we need to put together all that. Yes, I think it's the relationship we have with our limits. If you want to always go beyond your limits in technology, which would allow to improve everything. So if we probably going to those limits, we will destroy something. So we need to also consider that. So the objective was indeed to give visibility to those ways of working. And when we started to work on it, it was emerging. So quite invisible transhumanism at that time, it seemed, a bit, let's say, different. And the same for transhumanism, or only a few experts want to struggle for the rights of animals, but there's not really an awareness from lawyers and so on, because wellness is connected to animals' well-being and wellness. So this is really a new topic, and the impacts that we have in our everyday life is obviously connected. So we have so many consequences on the environment connected to digital and digitalization. We need to put an alert on the whole community of, lawyers and citizens on these stakes which are in our society. Okay, so do we have any questions from our friends online connected?
Dominique, y a-t-il des questions en ligne? Christine, tu veux réagir? Non?
Great.
Merci beaucoup.
So we shall continue, and we'll close this session because we would like first to thank all of you. We've been working a lot. We have an institute in Oxford, Future of Humanity, which have the same topics here. They are working a lot also within the UN. And when you go there, when we went there, it is actually like a private chair financed by private people, and they do not have any connection with the University of Oxford. Well, it's really important to see on the field who is acting and what is doing what. So we've been very well welcomed by these, colleagues, but it was, they are totally different, and they have very, very specific convictions, and they have, let's say, different ways of working. So thank you to all our colleagues so Dominique BÉVIERE Boyer, thank you to Aloïse CAYOL, of course, and thank you to all of you for your great job, and thank you for these 3 publications. You have also a magazine which will be published in the International Review of Artificial Intelligence. Then we have a report